Hi dear Scorpios, welcome to my YouTube channel, and in this video I'm going to talk about the transits for the month of December. The last month of 2023 should be relatively peaceful because we don't have any eclipses this December, okay? And it's been a month and a half since the last eclipse, so that means all the dust from the eclipses has settled by now. And we should have relative stability until next March. That's when we'll have the next eclipse. Speaking of eclipses, dear Scorpios, you guys recently had the last eclipse involving your sign and your opposite sign. It was a lunar eclipse in Taurus, but the sun was in Scorpio, so it affected you guys. And since that was the last eclipse in Taurus Scorpio axis, it means there was some sort of reward for all the hard work you've done while the nodes were transiting your signs. So, and I know a lot of Scorpios who got married in the last year and a half, like a lot. And another good thing is, even though the eclipses are over in your sign and in your opposite sign, you still have a lot of activity going on in your opposite sign because you've got Uranus and Jupiter in your house of relationships currently. Yeah, and Uranus is probably throwing surprises and making you fall for original people, the kinds of people, exciting romances that you never thought you would get involved in. So it must be fun, even though Uranus, it does throw surprises occasionally, like it likes to pull the rugs from under your feet. But if you kind of cooperate with it, it's actually a very fun transit. And the presence of Jupiter adds optimism, fun, really fun, expansive energy, because Jupiter is the biggest planet. Wherever it is, things get big and lively, so to speak. And so, speaking of December now, this December has a bit of a challenge, and that challenge is Mercury retrograde. Yes, we will enter December with Mercury in the shadow zone of the retrograde. Yep. So, dear Scorpios, if you need to buy electronic presents for Christmas, keep in mind that Mercury is weak all December. Think of it in this way. Think of it as Mercury being gone on vacation. Mercury won't be able to do its job properly. So if you do have to buy it in December, make sure you either keep the receipt or make sure there is a way for you to return it or exchange it, because when we buy electronics during Mercury retrograde, there is a higher chance of it malfunctioning or it not lasting until it's as long as it's supposed to. So yeah, and another thing to keep in mind about Mercury retrograde is that it's not a good time to sign contracts because Mercury rules those kinds of agreements. And so try to postpone major paper signing or major decisions until January, because Mercury will turn direct on January 1st. Yes, it will be in the post-shadow zone, but still, it's better than retrograde Mercury. But life happens. Sometimes, as if by Murphy's Law, we have to sign documents when Mercury is retrograde. That happens to me all the time. I sign job contracts when Mercury is retrograde, I sign apartment leases when Mercury is retrograde, and I either change my job before the contract expires or I move out before the apartment lease expires. So yeah, that's Mercury retrograde stuff. So what I'm trying to say is, if you do have to sign papers, keep in mind that you might not have to, you might not fulfill the entire agreement, or the terms of the agreement might change along the way. And another interesting interpretation, actually, which happened to me this year, is I got a job offer when Mercury was retrograde, and I had to sign the contract. And I was so worried. I'm like, but it's retrograde, and I wanted this job. I didn't want the agreement to change sometime along the way. But it turned out that the contract they sent me is for the lower salary. They said after I sent them my grad school transcript, after the degree has been conferred, whatever. So they said, sign it now, just to accept the job, and then when we receive your transcript, we will send you another contract. And so yeah, I signed the contract during Mercury retrograde, but later I re-signed the same contract with a higher salary. So yeah, Mercury retrograde is not completely bad. It's just we tend to dislike Mercury retrograde because it causes so much chaos in our daily lives. Inner planets like Mercury, Venus, they affect our daily lives. So like we feel it when they are retrograde. And so, when Mercury is retrograde, you might get lost a lot more often. You might forget things. Like last time Mercury was retrograde, I forgot my house keys at my work. That's ridiculous. I always have it with me, but somehow I forgot my keys at work. And so, that's one of the possible Mercury retrograde shenanigans, like tricks. Another thing is make sure you read the fine print, because again, I had to spend around $400 on a hotel because I didn't look at the train schedules properly. Apparently, I could have taken the train home at the end of the day. I was in another city for some conference. And yeah, I was mad. $400 because I didn't read the schedule like attentively because Mercury was retrograde. So yeah, don't repeat my mistakes. And what else am I forgetting to mention? I think I've mentioned most of the stuff associated with Mercury retrograde. And now let's start talking about the outer planets to create context. So Pluto in Capricorn, the furthest planet from the Sun, your ruling planet. Pluto has been in Capricorn for 15 years now, so this is not this is the energy that you've been used to by now. Yeah, and it has only 1 month left. It's going to enter Aquarius in January. Okay, so that means in December, Pluto is going to be in the very last 2 degrees, like 28th and 29th degree of Capricorn, and that means Scorpios who were born in the late degrees of Scorpio, or those of you who have your rising sign in the late degrees of Scorpio, you guys are receiving a positive sextile aspect, which is a helpful aspect. It's the aspect of opportunity. So there might be an opportunity for empowerment because Pluto is empowerment. It's a planet of transformation, like power. So I got lost because I was going to say. Since it's the planet of transformation and it's a positive aspect, it's like you are the one in charge, in control of the transformation process. It's not something that is like forced upon you. Does that make sense? It would be forced. You would feel powerless if it was like a negative aspect. Yeah, but since this is a positive aspect, it's Pluto is helping you. Yes, and the thing is, since Pluto is so far away from the Sun, we barely feel its aspects. We feel it only when it's an exact aspect. Okay. And another thing I need to mention is you already felt this sextile aspect back in spring, because Pluto did go over these degrees and then it retrograded back over those degrees again in the summer. So now this is like the third time you are experiencing this. And so that is it for Pluto in Capricorn. Speaking of Pluto, it's in your third house. So communication has been transformed in the past 15 years. I mean, we evolve, right? Evolution is natural, but it's just because of Pluto in there, the transformation might have been more profound than you may have realized. What's next? So after Pluto, we have Neptune. Neptune is in Pisces, in the late degrees of Pisces. So again, Scorpios who were born in the late degrees of Scorpio, you guys are receiving a trine aspect. I would say those of you who were born 4 days before 4 days before the Sun left Scorpio. So that would be November 16th, 17th. Okay, so you guys are receiving trine and loose sextile aspect from Pluto as well. So you guys are quite busy. It must be fun. And since since Neptune is in a fellow water sign and it rules that water sign, the exchange of energies is very easy flow of energies, and no obstruction. And so Neptune has been in your fifth house for 10 years now. It entered Pisces in 2013. And it's got like 2 more years in Pisces, and then it's going to enter your 6th house. So 5th house is a house of fun, children, creativity, hobbies. Okay, it's the way it's like the area where we enjoy life, like when we go on vacation. Yeah, that's not a ninth house stuff as well, but fifth house is also very much a fun house. And also, it rules romance, the early days of the romance. You know how the seventh house is a house of like more like commitment, where you are like, okay, let's date. We are officially together now. But fifth house is a house when like you go on the first few dates, when you're like when it's all exciting, and those are usually the most fun days of the relationship, right? Yeah, and so you've had this planet of glamour, illusions, mm, like creativity in the house of creativity as well. So it's like a good mix. Some even say that Neptune is exalted in the fifth house. And but again, since that's a generational planet, it's not something that you really feel, and it's been in there for a decade. So you feel it only when it's making an exact aspect, near exact. And after Neptune, we have Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus. It's in your seventh house. It's been in there for 5 years now, and it's got like about 2 more years in Taurus. So, in the past 5 years, you've experienced unique romances, probably sudden breakups, sudden like infatuations. Yeah, because Uranus is surprises. Surprise might be like a lover out of the blue, or like lover gone out of the blue. Surprises. And another thing is, but it probably made you get out of your comfort zone. Yeah, Uranus probably has made you try dating people you never thought you would date. Okay, or people who are really, really unique or original, rebels. Yes, and eclipses that happened in Taurus. Some of them were conjunct Uranus, and that must have made your relationship life, personal life, quite busy in the past 2 years. It was kind of busy with Uranus in there, but the eclipses kind of like magnified it, and now we have Jupiter in there as well. Like, so your relationships are busy, Scorpios. Even if you think, oh, like the eclipses happened and I'm still single, or I'm still not married, don't worry, you still have time. Okay. And so after Uranus, we have Saturn. Saturn is in Pisces, like Neptune, but Neptune is in the late degrees, while Saturn is in the very early degrees of Pisces. It has just finished retrograding, and it stopped on the 0th degree and started moving forward. Um, so Neptune in the fifth house. I think I've mentioned that in my previous videos, but for those of you who haven't watched that, Saturn in the fifth house can make it feel as though all you do is work. No fun. Like it can feel like that. Like personally, when I experienced this transit, I was in another country at the time, and I didn't know many people. All I seemed to do was work, and on weekends when I had free time, I would hang out by myself. So it was like I felt like I was having no fun. Yeah, but the thing is, I'm an extroverted fire sign, like, and you guys are a serious water sign. So you guys might actually be fine with this, like lack of like all the fun, fireworks, fifth house stuff. So you will have Saturn for the next 2 years and a half in your fifth house, and Saturn will eventually conjoin Neptune, but that's like next year or so. And for now, Saturn will be bringing order into your fifth house matters. So, like romance, for example, now you will be a bit more serious about romance because of Saturn. Or you might take up a hobby and become more serious about your hobby. Again, that's Saturn. Um, what else am I saying? Like, so children. So it might feel as though like children are a bit like more of a responsibility or something. Or like if you're trying to have children, it might take a bit more effort than it would have otherwise. Yeah, but don't worry, it doesn't mean that like it will never happen. Saturn in the fifth house, that's a temporary transit, and you know Saturn, even though it's a planet of karma, even though it's known to punish, like a lot of the times when you do the hard work of Saturn, when you do cooperate with Saturn, when you do what it's asking you to do, it actually rewards you and gives you something much better than you even thought of, than you thought you could get. Yes. So don't worry, Scorpios, enjoy the fifth house Saturn transit. And after Saturn, we have Jupiter. And I've already mentioned, I think, Jupiter. It's in your seventh house. And so, after Jupiter, we have Mars, but Mars is like an inner planet, so to speak. So, now in this part of the video, I'm going to talk about the transits. On December 1st, Mercury is going to enter Capricorn until February 5th, 2024. As you can see, Mercury is going to spend 2 months in Capricorn and like a bit in Sagittarius. Which is a long time. Normally, Mercury sprints through signs in less than 3 weeks, but now almost 2 months. And so, Mercury is going to enter your third house. So, communication becomes much more lively. Like you might have to talk more, make a lot more phone calls, text a lot more, write a lot more stuff. Because the end of the year is coming. A lot of companies, like people, write reports, annual reports and stuff. And so if you do have to do those things, I would say from December 1st, it's a great time, okay? Because Mercury will be giving you this ability to choose the right words, and it will be like a flow of words. It will be very easy. So do use this transit. And next, on December 3rd, Venus in Libra is going to make a square to Pluto in Capricorn. Think of it this way. So, Venus is finances, right? It rules finances. Pluto is also finance. It's a very much financial planet. So when these two make a tense aspect, there might be like some financial challenges, like some power struggles around finances. That's one of the possible interpretations. Another possible interpretation is Venus is love and Pluto is like intensity. Let's say like intense energy, and it's like a volcano that erupts. So when love and that volcanic energy meet, it's like all the pent-up stuff, all the things that you've been ignoring might be like, okay, it's time to solve this issue. Like, let's have this talk. But don't worry, this is not the kind of transit that's going to end your relationship. This is a temporary transit. It's active for like 2 or 3 days. I'm just trying to say that like the days around December 3rd might be a bit like intense emotionally or financially, okay? And after that, on December 4th, Venus is going to leave Libra and enter Scorpio. So Venus will be in your sign until December 29th this year. Okay, so most of December, Venus is going to be in your sign. So when Venus is visiting your sign, it's a great time to go shopping, because Venus will help you to choose the right clothes, great price. Yes, and it will be something that you will love. Venus will inject a dose of like charm into you. So like all December, you should be in your maximum like magnetic self, okay? And so after this, on this there are some minor transits, but I'm making the video too long, so I'm gonna keep it short. On December 12th, we have a new moon in Sagittarius, on the 20th degree of Sagittarius. And Scorpios, this new moon is going to happen in your second house. Second house is the house of our income, our values, our possessions, like material possessions, our finances, the way we earn money. Something new about finances. You can expect to start receiving news, announcement, decisions 4 days before this new moon. So I would say starting from December 9th, you can start receiving news. Maybe it has to do with finances, or maybe some other news, but like around new moons, we receive news and decisions, announcements. We find out like important stuff, or we start new things. Even though I wouldn't recommend starting anything new in December, because Mercury. And so after this new moon, 1 day after this new moon, we have Mercury stationing retrograde on the 8th degree of Capricorn. So Mercury will start retrograding in your third house, but eventually it will slip back into Sagittarius, into your second house. So from communication matters, writing, short travels, into financial stuff, finances, your self-worth, okay? Self-confidence. And what I'm trying to say is when Mercury stations retrograde, what was I gonna say? Okay, excuse me. So in your third house, okay, I'm sorry. Let's continue. I got lost. On December 21st, we have the winter solstice, when the sun enters Capricorn. And I love winter solstice because that's when the days start getting longer. Okay, like even though by tiny, tiny bit, but still, we'll have the longest night of the year, and from then on, the days will start getting longer. And on December 23rd, Mercury retrograde is going to re-enter Sagittarius. Okay? Now I remember what I was trying to say. So, we tend to dislike Mercury retrograde, but it's actually a great opportunity to go back to something and fix it. Make it right. Maybe you were working, and then something along the way went wrong, and you just kept on with that. But now it's an opportunity to kind of like went back, fix it, and now move in the right way. I think what was his name? There was an English singer from like early 2000s, and he had this music video where he's on a date with a girl, and he messes up and he spills a drink, and they break up, and he leaves, and then he regrets. He kind of makes the time pause, the reality pause, and he kind of like goes back in time to the place where he was about to mess up, and he doesn't. He makes sure the glass doesn't spill, and he makes sure he doesn't break up with the girl. And from then on, they move happily forward. So that can be an example of Mercury retrograde. Okay. And now, so on December 23rd, Mercury is going to re-enter Sagittarius. I mentioned that. And after that, on December 26th, we have a full moon in Cancer, on the 4th degree of Cancer. Full moons are the times of illumination, culmination, achievement, okay? And it's also a very, very emotional time. And since this full moon is in a sign that it rules, it's like imagine an extra dose of emotionalness. And dear Scorpios, this is going to happen in your 9th house. So the luminaries will be lighting up your 9th house and 3rd house. Those are houses of knowledge, I would say. Like 3rd house is a house of like school, while 9th house is a house of university, higher education, philosophy. So 3rd house is our curiosity, like our analytical mind, while 9th house is our philosophical mind. So those two areas of your chart will be lit up. So something about your personal philosophy, something about your thoughts. And another thing is, 9th house is a house of foreigners, foreign travel, like faraway travel, foreign cultures, and also your worldview, like the filter through which you process the world, like your outlook towards the world. That's also very much 9th house stuff, and also as a house of religion. So there is some sort of like culmination, illumination around these matters. Perhaps you were like, let's say, traveling, and by the time of this full moon, you come home. So like the culmination of travel. Okay, that's one of the possible examples. And so after this full moon, oh no, on the same day as this full moon, we have Chiron stationing direct, okay, on the 15th degree of Aries, and that is your 6th house. So when Chiron stations direct, there is some sort of like healing, because it's the wounded healer. It might not be something that you kind of like feel it in a very obvious way. It might be very subtle, but there will be healing, especially when the 6th house matters. So pets, work, routine, co-workers, okay, those matters. And now, on December 29th, Venus is going to enter Sagittarius, your 2nd house. So now, the charm that was like in your 1st house, and now blessings enter your 2nd house, the house of finances, the house of your self-worth. Okay, and it will be in your 2nd house until January 23rd. And finally, on December 30th, we have Jupiter stationing direct on the 5th degree of Taurus. So if there have been any like slowdowns in your relationships, I would say like after this, things will move forward in a like obvious way, I guess. And when Jupiter turns direct, like there is a sense of luck in that area of our life, like of our chart. Okay, So, dear Scorpios, I hope you have a wonderful December. I wish Merry Christmas to those of you who celebrate Christmas, and Happy New Year to everybody, okay? And I hope to see you guys in my January videos. I apologize if I was a bit slow in the video, but it's just I'm recording this at night and I'm like I should have done this earlier in the day, but because of work I couldn't. Okay, sorry, bye.